So, it's no secret that some people take one look at Comfy UI and immediately think, nope, all they see is a plate of spaghetti, wires everywhere, and they feel like it's not meant for them. Now, yes, there are a couple of front-end apps that make using Comfy UI easier, but the problem is, you only ever get to do one thing at a time. It's limiting. What I want us to look at today is something a bit different, a tool that lets you use everything you've already got sitting on your PC. All your Ollama models, your image generation models, and, with a little help from N8N, even your video models too. The app is called Claraverse, and honestly I think it's one of the most intuitive interfaces I've used in a long time. So today we're going to go through how to install it, how to set it up properly, and how to make the most of both Claraverse and the tools you already have, all without ever leaving the app. Before we get into it, like and subscribe if you want to see more videos about brilliant tools like this. I'll be doing more than just Comfy UI on the channel. It takes a while for most of these tools to get ported into Comfy UI, so this is a way to get ahead of the curve. Right, so why would you even want to use Claraverse? Because it just works. Let's be honest, most of us run the same few workflows again and again. And having an interface like Claraverse makes using LLMs and generating images incredibly straightforward. But the real magic, it's that it works with N8N workflows. That means you can create entire processes and automations, just like you would inside N8N. You don't even need to use the built-in chat interface that comes with Claraverse if you don't want to. You can design your own app, your own interface, from scratch. It's basically like building your own ChatGPT, but you're using your own models, your own data, your own Comfy UI backend for image generation, and you can just build whatever you can imagine. Well, assuming your PC can keep up. But even that's not such a problem anymore, because you can use quantized models or just go for smaller ones. And honestly, they're getting better every single day. Alright, let's get this set up. You'll need to have Docker installed first. Don't worry if you haven't done that yet, I've already made a video that shows you exactly how to do it. It's linked in the description, and you'll see it pop up just here too. That same video also shows how to install Ollama, so you can do both in one go. Once that's sorted, the next step is to download and install Claraverse. You can either go straight to the Claraverse website to download it, or use their GitHub page. I've put links to both in the description, so just pick whichever one works better for you. When you get to the site, click on Download Clara, then choose the version that matches your system. I'm on Windows, so that's what I'll go with here. If you're using Linux or Mac OS, just choose the one that fits your machine. Same thing applies if you're downloading from their GitHub, they've got the latest releases listed there too. Once the download finishes, double-click on the exe file. You'll get the usual setup prompts, click I agree, then next, then install, and just wait. It takes care of everything behind the scenes for you. When it's done, open the app and you're in. Now, the user interface is really simple. Let's take a quick look around before diving deeper. When it first launches, right in the middle, you've got your workspace area. Think of it like your home base. There are shortcut tiles here for everything you can do, starting a chat, setting up agents, automations, and your settings. You can rearrange these or even add your own widgets if you want to personalize the space. On the left-hand side, there's a navigation menu. You've got access to your dashboard, chat, agents, Luma UI, and image generation. Let's go into the Chat tab. When you click on it for the first time, you'll see a message saying you don't have any AI models set up yet. There's a button that says Go to Model Manager, or you can click Settings. What we need to do now is add a service to Claraverse. Services are basically APIs that Claraverse connects to. It's how the app talks to your language models. Click Add Service. A pop-up will appear and you'll see options for OpenAI, OpenRouter, and Ollama. There's also an option to add your own custom service if you've got one. I personally use Ollama and OpenRouter. Ollama is running locally on my PC, so it keeps everything private. No data leaves my machine, which is great. And OpenRouter is my go-to for those big, beefy models that I couldn't run on my system otherwise, and the best part is, they're completely free. Let's start by adding Ollama. Click Add Service, choose Ollama from the list, and everything else will fill itself out automatically. You don't have to tweak anything. Just click Add Provider. Now we need to make sure Ollama is actually running on your machine. To do that, open the command prompt. Just click on the Start menu and type in CMD, then press Enter. When it opens, type in Ollama serve, then hit Enter. That command starts the Ollama server. You'll want to keep that window open while you're using Claraverse. Back in Claraverse, you'll now need to enable Ollama. Just toggle it on and then click Test. If it says Connected, you're good to go. That means it's running successfully and ready to use. Let's go back to the Chat tab. Sometimes when you add a new service for the first time, Claraverse needs a restart for it to pick everything up properly. If you don't see your models right away, just close the app and reopen it. Once it's restarted, your models should appear. I've got 5 installed on my system: Gemma 3, Tools, DeepSeek R1, 5.4 Mini, Qwen 3, and another Gemma 3. I'm going to go with 5.4. I'll ask it, what can the 5.4 model do? Is it a vision model, a code model, multimodal, or just a standard text model? And does it support function calling? It responds straight away. Works perfectly. This one model could honestly replace so many of the paid subscriptions I used to rely on. And what I love about Claraverse is that you can switch models mid-conversation without losing your thread. Watch this, I'll change to Qwen 3 and ask the same question. It swaps the model and gives me a fresh answer. And it's a really detailed one too, well formatted and easy to understand. Now let's take a look at OpenRouter. If your PC is not exactly built like a tank, if it's more of a potato, then this is what I'd recommend. OpenRouter gives you access to over 70 models for free, and they update them regularly. If a new model's just dropped, chances are someone's already uploaded a free version to OpenRouter. Click on Settings, then on Add Service, and this time select OpenRouter. Again, all the fields will autofill. Now you'll need to get your API key from the OpenRouter website. Links in the description. Head to the site, create an account, it's completely free, and then move your cursor to the upper right corner of the page. Hover over the little burger menu, scroll down and click on Keys. Once you're there, click Create API Key. I'll name mine Claraverse, and then click Create. Copy that API key, then go back to Claraverse and paste it into the API field. Click Add Provider, and that's it, you're done. Now you've got 3 providers set up. I'm going to switch my default provider to OpenRouter, then reopen the Chat tab. And yeah, looks like I'll need to restart Claraverse again for it to recognize the models. It would be so much easier if there were just a little refresh button for services. That's definitely something the devs could add. Once it's restarted, the model list appears. Now, one thing to be absolutely clear about, OpenRouter offers both paid and free models. The free ones have the word free at the end of their names. Do not select a model that doesn't have free at the end unless you've got credits on your account, because it won't work. I'll choose DeepSeek R1 Qwen free and run a quick test. I'll ask it, give me a table of 5 of the most populated cities in the United States, along with their population densities. Now, here's the first little hiccup with OpenRouter, and I've run into this loads of times when building apps that use its API. The output comes back in Markdown. It's not a massive issue, but it means you'll get a text version of a table, not a styled one. Normally, I'd use something like marks.js to convert that into something a bit more polished. It's something the developers might want to look into, especially since OpenRouter is one of the default options. You, however, get a well-formatted, clean, and well-structured data table at the bottom of the chat. But it would be nice if that was the default. The next thing I want us to look at is the native large language model provision inside Clara, and that's called Clara Core. It's powered by llama.cpp, which basically means you're able to run LLMs locally right inside the app without having to connect to external APIs. And that's huge because it makes your assistant faster, more private, and completely under your control. To get this going, head over to Settings and look for the toggle to enable Clara Core. Inside local models, you've got 2 tabs, one for models themselves and the other for hardware acceleration. Let's stay in the first tab for now. The very first thing here is Custom Model Directory. This is where you can set the folder where you want your GGUF models to live. Or if you already have some models downloaded, like in my case, I've got a few I use with Comfy UI, you can just point it to that folder instead of downloading everything again. Make sure you tick the option to enable downloading new models here too. That way, whenever you download something new from inside Clara, it automatically saves it to that directory. No surprises, no lost files. Underneath that is the Model Manager. This is where you can browse new models, download the ones you want, or just take a look at the ones already sitting on your system. Now switch to the Hardware Acceleration tab. This section lets you tweak how your system handles these models, so you can squeeze out a bit more performance if you're running on limited hardware, or dial things up if your PC can handle it. Alright, now that Clara Core's running and we've got our local model sorted, let's look at something just as important, the chatbot configuration. You'll find this in the bottom right corner of the chat interface, right next to the Send button. Give that a click and you'll see a menu pop up with a bunch of advanced settings. The first setting is AI Provider. And honestly, I think this is where I should have changed the provider earlier instead of restarting Claraverse every single time. Below that, there's System Prompt. This is the starting instruction your assistant uses in every conversation. If you leave it blank, it'll use the default one, which is usually fine. But if you want your assistant to act a certain way, maybe more formal or more helpful with coding, you can drop your own prompt in here. Keep scrolling and you'll find the Model Selection settings. This one's important. It lets you assign different models for different tasks. So one model for text, another one for vision, and another for code. Now, if you give the chatbot the wrong kind of model, like a text-only model for a vision task, you're going to get weird, broken results. So my advice here? Use a good multimodal model for all three if you can. It keeps things tidy and you're less likely to run into issues. Right beneath that are your parameters, temperature, and max tokens. You can leave these at their defaults unless you know exactly what you're after. Higher temperature gives you more creative responses, while lower values make things more focused and predictable. Max tokens basically caps how long the response can be. Further down, there's a section called Features, where you can turn streaming or tool calling on or off. I personally don't care much about streaming. It's nice, but not essential. What is important though is tool calling and MCPs, and let me show you why. Before we go any further, let's break down what tool calling and MCPs actually are in the most unscientific way possible. Imagine your LLM is this ridiculously talented chef, not just good, like Gordon Ramsay meets Nigella with a dash of AI magic. Now, this chef knows all the ingredients and tools needed to make anything. Tool calling is when the chef realizes, hang on, I need a blowtorch to finish this creme brulee, and then writes down a request for the sous chef to go fetch it. It's the model recognizing that it needs to do something, not just say it, and generating a structured request to get that done. Now, how does our genius chef talk to any kitchen in the world, no matter the layout or brand of appliance? That's where MCP, the Model Context Protocol, comes in. Think of MCP like a universal plug socket. It's a standard way for external tools and systems to expose their capabilities to your model. Whether it's checking your calendar, querying a database, or sending a text message, MCP tells the model, here's how you talk to this thing. So, tool calling is the LLM asking for the task. MCP is the wiring that lets it actually connect and do the task. Put them together and you've just turned your AI assistant from a clever chatbot into an action-taking machine. It doesn't just talk, it gets things done. And that's why I always make sure tool calling and MCPs are enabled. They're not just little extras, they're how you move from a chatbot that says to a system that actually does. Now, I'll be honest with you. Even though Clara technically gives you all these features, the implementation isn't exactly what I'd call polished. And the biggest issue, and it's a big one, is documentation. Usually, when you get stuck, you just read the manual. Simple, right? But in this case, you've got to go off digging through how other tools use these features, try to piece it together, then come back and cross your fingers that it works the same way here. So let's actually put it to the test. Let's try adding web search capability to the chatbot. And to do that, we're going to use a tool called SearchNG. Start by going into Settings, then Extensions, and then click on Templates. You're looking for the one called SearchNG. Once you find it, click on Use Template and then Add Server. Now head over to the Servers tab and you'll see Search NG listed there. But before you do anything else, make sure the Search NG server is actually running on your computer. If it's not running, nothing's going to work. I've got mine set up and running inside Docker, but if you don't have that yet, I've made a separate video that walks you through it. Check the link in the description below. Right, so once the server's up and running, click on Test. That checks whether Clara can actually talk to Search NG. If it's working, it'll let you know. Then click Run, and that's it. You've now got live web search capability inside your chatbot. Let's go back into the chatbot and make sure a few key things are enabled. Click on the chatbot settings icon, it's right next to the Send button. Change your AI provider back to Ollama. Then scroll down to Features and make sure both tool calling and MCP are enabled. Next, click on MCP configuration. In here, I'm going to enable Search NG and also switch on Autonomous Agent. That's it. Everything's connected. But this is where things get messy. So let's test it. I'm going to ask it about Midjourney Video V1 June 2025 just to see if it can actually go out and find something relevant. The results are kind of hit or miss. A lot of that comes down to your internet connection and the model you're using. For example, when I used the DeepSeek tool calling model, it took forever to respond. I'm on a machine with 8 GB of VRAM, and instead of giving me an answer, it just listed out every single step it was going through to try to find one. But it never actually gave me the answer, so I thought, maybe the problem is tokens, so let me bump that up to 10,000. Still nothing. Next, I tried using the smaller 5.4 model, and it still didn't work. So I restarted Clara, ran it all again, and this time, all it did was explain how I could use Search NG, which wasn't helpful at all, because I already am using it. So then I went hunting for a smaller, faster model, something lightweight that still supports tool calling. That's when I found Gemma 3 2 on Ollama. It's only about 1 GB, and honestly, it worked much better. So I asked the same question again. Find information on Midjourney Video V1 and give me a comprehensive summary. This time, I disabled autonomous agents and also turned off artifact generation just to simplify things. And the result? Way better. The response actually made sense. Search NG was working properly. I finally got what I was looking for. So here's what's important. For this to work reliably, you'll need a model that supports tool calling. Make sure autonomous agents are turned off. Also disable artifact generation. Let's try one more MCP tool, this time web scraping with Puppeteer. Head back into Settings, then Extensions, then into Templates. Find the one called Web Scraping and click on Use Template. Everything's already filled in for you, so just click Add Server. Now open the Servers tab again and click on Test. If everything looks good, click Run to start the server. Then go back to the chatbot. Open up chatbot settings, click on MCP configuration, deselect Search NG and instead select Puppeteer. Now let's test it. I'll ask it to go to a link, in this case the one to my FramePack guide, and take a screenshot. That's it. No extra instructions. It goes off, grabs the page, takes a screenshot, and then gives me a proper summary of the article. So Puppeteer works, Search NG works, MCPs in general work just fine. The one consistent problem, you've got to restart Clara every time you make a change, and that gets tedious fast. There are more tools you can try, like Agent Studio. This one lets you create agents to handle different tasks. What I'm going to do now is build a simple chatbot just to test if it actually works properly. So here's what I'll do. I'll start by adding 2 input nodes, then an output node. In between them, I'll drop in an LLM chat node. I'll change both input and output nodes to text, and in the LLM chat node, I'll update the API base URL to point to Ollama's API and set the API key to Ollama. Once that's done, click Save, then Load Models. Choose the model you want to use. Now let's wire it up. Connect the first input node to the first input on the LLM chat node. That's your system message. Then connect the second input node to the second input. That's the user message. In the first input, I'll write something like, "You are an AI assistant." And in the second, I'll go with, "What is the meaning of life?" Now connect the output from the LLM node to the output node, and then click Test Flow to see what we get. And, yep, we get a reply back in the output node. Now, here's the issue. In previous versions of Clara, once you built these agents, you could turn them into actual apps. But now, you only get a workflow. I'm not sure if that's meant to be an improvement or a step backwards. Even the number of available nodes has been reduced, and I think that might be because of the new Create Node feature, which, to be fair, is meant to help you create nodes using AI or manually. As for Luma UI, it's a bit finicky. The idea is that you can give it instructions to build a user interface, or you can start from one of their example templates and edit from there. But here's the problem. Most of the time, I'd say about 90%, it just does nothing. And the 10% of the time it does do something, it doesn't actually do what you asked it to. Instead, it gives you a block of code, maybe an explanation, but the UI doesn't change. So no, it's not quite ready yet. Let's give it a try anyway. I'll click on Create Your First Project and name it Finn's Delicacies. Then I'll choose Landing Page and go to Customize. Here, you can add features or requirements. I'll just stick with the ones it already has and click Create Project. It gives me a decent starting point. I like the concept that you can just chat with the design tool and it builds everything in the background. So I'll use one of the built-in examples. Create an animated pricing section with hover effects. And like I said, it gives me code. Then it gives me a full explanation of how to implement that section myself. But nothing changes in the actual UI. So yeah, I was really looking forward to this one, but it's not quite there yet. Alright, let's look at the last tool from Claraverse that I want to talk about. And it's the image generator. This one's, well, it's a bit strange, but at the same time, kind of brilliant. And when I say brilliant, I don't mean it's polished or seamless. I mean, it feels like they tacked it on at the end of a very long day. But it works, and it's got potential. So let's walk through it. First thing, make sure Comfy UI is already running on your machine. That's absolutely essential. You won't get anywhere without that. Now, in the Claraverse settings, you'll see there's already a server URL filled in by default. But here's the catch. It's set up for the portable version. If you're using the desktop version of Comfy UI, you need to change that. Set the server URL to 127.0.0.1.8000. Just type that in, exactly like that. Once that's sorted, click on Image Gen and you can start generating images. Now, this is where it gets a bit messy. It's almost impossible to use any model that has something in between the model and the K-sampler. What that means, in practice, is that a lot of base models, things like FluxDev or HiDream, are basically off the table. So instead, I'm going to use the RealVis Lightning SDXL model. For the sampler, I've set it to DPM++ SDE. The scheduler is Keras. I've kept the steps at 6 and the guidance at 2. And then, of course, I've added a negative prompt. You can also boost your prompt result by including an LLM of your choice, though that's totally optional. Let's hit generate and see what we get. And yeah, this actually took me a few tries. For some reason, it just refuses to work the first time you run it. No clue why, but eventually it kicked in, and honestly, looking at the results, it made me wonder why I even stopped using SDXL. It still looks properly sharp. So, what do I actually think about Claraverse overall? To be honest, it still feels like a baby learning to walk. It's just finding its feet. But the thing is, imagine what this could be like if it all just worked. Out of the box. It's got all the makings of something truly brilliant. I honestly believe it could grow into a seriously powerful tool. It might even get to a point where the biggest limitation isn't the app itself, but the quality of the models you're running on it. Is it better than other tools out there? Yes. And also, no. It's better in the sense that it brings together a full suite of AI tools into one private, local setup, and that's rare. But at the same time, it's that exact ambition that trips it up. Loads of things break. You'll be halfway through a workflow, and it'll just stop connecting to external services. Sometimes you've got to keep restarting it over and over just to get it working again, and there are moments when it insists on using the OpenAI API for no clear reason, which feels completely off, especially when we're at a point where open source models are genuinely good enough to handle everyday tasks. You don't need to be beholden to OpenAI anymore. And let's be real, some of the tools Claraverse is competing with might not be as full-featured, but they are stable. They're designed in a way where a tiny update doesn't completely break your workflow. But when Claraverse is working properly, it's magic. Like, you can skip over a bunch of fiddly manual setup, especially for things like MCP. And the chatbot inside Claraverse? That's still my favorite part of the entire platform. Now, on the topic of APIs, like OpenRouter, there's no model filtering. None. OpenRouter's got hundreds of models available, and they're constantly adding more. What I mean by filtering is being able to filter by model name or by whether it's free or paid. Just imagine, there are more than 70 free models alone, and all you get is a long drop-down. That's it. No sorting, no search. And then there's the response formatting. OpenRouter's replies aren't cleaned up, they're still in Markdown, even though there's a cleaner version of the same response tucked away at the bottom, collapsed. It's just clunky. It would also be massively helpful if Claraverse gave some guidance on which open source models work best with each tool. Because let's be honest, everything probably works perfectly fine with the OpenAI API, but the whole point here is to run it all privately with your own tools. So yeah, having a list of recommended open source models would really make a difference. Anyway, I still use it every day. It helps me tie together loads of the AI tools I've already got on my machine, and the best part, it's free. And as someone who just spent an entire weekend building a Physide 6 app for Chatterbox TTS, trust me, I know that's no small feat. Whether you're vibe coding or just trying to glue together a dozen services, pulling off something like Claraverse is a massive effort. And I'm pretty sure the developer's been working on this in their spare time. So honestly, kudos to you, mate. So, who's this for? If you want everything in one place, your chatbot, your agents, your N8N workflows, your image generation, then Claraverse is a powerful tool that's only going to get better with time. And one more thing, if you like the app, support the developer. Head over to their YouTube channel. I think they've only got a couple of videos up right now, but even a like or a sub can go a long way. Or, if you're more into GitHub, just star the repo, show a bit of appreciation. Alright, that's it from me for today. Like and subscribe for more AI tutorials that actually make sense. This is The Sneaky Robot, and I'll see you in the next one.